you would struggle to find a person that doesn't have like memories of being a child, watching the Olympics, being inspired by athletes and dreaming of doing it themselves. So it's always been seen as, the top level of sport.
Hey folks, do you love your footy? Are you over 35 and want to be part of something very special on Anzac Day in 2025 in Gallipoli? Well, check this out.
The Slugs plan to play men's and women's games here at this soccer ground, the closest to the Gallipoli battlefields during the 2025 commemorations. The idea to make it spectacular, to fill this entire area with Aussie Anzac pilgrims. Vincent Malia tours with the Southern Slugs. Footy, he says, is perfect to honour the Diggers.
They would love it, I'm sure, because it's bringing Australia over there, isn't it?
Well, what an absolute pleasure it is for the very first time to have a gold medal winning cyclist from Paris 2024, Grace Brown, on Sports Legends with Bevo.
So thanks for having me, Bevo. Excited to be here and share a bit of my story.
Yeah, thank you so much for giving up your time. And obviously you can see the smile on your face now. You must be still absolutely pumped. Tell us about that experience winning gold over there in Paris, and must have been a pretty big celebration afterwards, I can imagine.
I think like it's been really busy since I won the gold medal. So now I'm back in Australia, like I'm actually getting time to appreciate it and meeting with people who are still excited. And so it's almost like I'm still, living in the high of winning the gold medal, which has been awesome. But yeah, going back to the actual day, it was a bit of a whirlwind. Like I don't know if you've seen footage of the race, but it was wet, really sketchy. A lot of my competitors were crashing, but I was just like so focused and ended up winning by like quite a margin. And it was just all surreal. I think it took me a long time to like actually comprehend what I'd done. And I didn't actually get a huge opportunity to party afterwards because, straight after the race, there was a lot of media. Like I was getting dragged all over Paris until like 11 p.m. When I finally got back to the village and had a small party there. But I had another race the next weekend. I didn't get to go too wild.
Still would have been like incredible though. And do you feel as though, talking to people and hearing your interviews and hearing other people that win gold medals and they always bring it back to not just your medal, it's like a medal that is, I guess it's years of hard work and it's like the family, your friends, everyone's sort of feeling a part of it. Did you feel that same way as well? That wasn't just your medal, it's like a medal that you've won for everyone?
Yes, so much so. Like, I think the amazing thing about the Olympics is it holds a lot of meaning for everyone. Like you would struggle to find a person that doesn't have like memories of being a child, watching the Olympics, being inspired by athletes and dreaming of doing it themselves. So it's always been seen as, the top level of sport and something that, the first time you might watch some random sport, like, I don't know, I don't think many people watch gymnastics on like a regular basis, but during the Olympics, we all love gymnastics. So the gold medal just means a lot. And I really felt that with all my friends and family that, they were so excited by this result and really invested in it. And so it was a result that I felt like I really could share with everyone that had been on this long journey with me through all the highs and lows of my sport. So that's what makes it extra special, I think.
And in terms of actually like winning gold as well, what was that feeling like, when you cross the line, knowing that you've won a gold medal? And I guess you talked about a little bit before as well, but how'd you go with all the fame that came with it as well, and doing all those interviews and walking the streets knowing that you're a gold medalist and you're an absolute legend, like, like a celebrity walking the streets and all these people want to take photos and everything of you. Yeah, how'd you deal with all that?
Yeah, it was quite crazy. I think like the moment I crossed the line, I was fairly sure that I'd won, but there was still one competitor behind me that I had to wait for her to finish to be 100% sure that I'd won. So it was like this sort of delayed gratification, almost like just waiting, like, feeling like I wanted to celebrate already, but, being held back. And then, yeah, it was sort of confirmed. And then it was just from then on, it was just this, I don't know, this blurry high of, just things happening. And like, I couldn't really, there was no quiet moment to really be like, wow, I'm, to comprehend that I'd won a gold medal and what it meant. Just excitement, like going into the interviews, and you could just feel like the energy of everyone. And that was so nice. Like I didn't get to, I was feeling everyone else's emotions for a long time before I got to feel my own. And yeah, walking around and like everyone wants a photo. So it's just, it's a bit crazy.
And your phone would have been pretty hot, no doubt, as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the messages, like just completely bombarded with messages on every platform, just with everyone, that'd been following, and even people from, random parts of my life that I hadn't heard from in 15 years or something, just like being like, Grace, we watched your race, and like so excited. So yeah, it's really, really cool that it can be like that. And yeah, just like going from, one before the race, just feeling, like not necessarily just an average person, but, fairly incognito. And then suddenly like everyone wants a piece of me. So it's, it's quite a transition.
And how'd you find the experience in the village? And, did you get to come up and close and personal with some of your idols as well? And tell us about those experiences.
Yeah, mainly just like the Australian athletes. So all the swimmers were there. In fact, so after my race, when I like got back late to the village, Bronte Campbell came up to me to congratulate me, and she was like, "Oh, I just needed a break between my heats." So I went to this like Irish pub across from where the swimming was, and they had your race up on the TV, and I watched it, and I was so inspired by you. Like, that was like the most brilliant race ever. Congratulations. And I just thought, wow, that's cool. Like someone that's, a legend in Australian swimming, just like sitting down and finding me inspiring. It's like a really beautiful thing, I think, about the Olympics, and also just the Australian culture. So yeah, being around all the athletes in the village. And also what I realized was when, you're in an environment like that where everyone in the vicinity is like a top level athlete, it made me feel more calm about my own events. Like all these people here are, competing at the highest level as well. Like I'm not alone. Yeah, that was nice.
And actual village itself, hearing stories over the years, and I remember speaking to Rachel Spall, basketball legend. I think Atlanta Olympics in the 90s, there was like 9 McDonald's or something like that in the village. Was it a bit like that this year, or has it changed a little bit? And what was your go-to meal after your races as well, Grace?
Yeah, I think it's changed quite a bit. Like the Paris Olympics really had a goal to be a bit more sustainable, to be the most sustainable Olympics like in history. So they didn't go over the top with all the little extras and novelties in the village that you hear about from other Olympic games. So yeah, there were no McDonald's. There were like, yeah, there weren't all these little, cool things to do. Like you hear stories from past Olympics.
So no water
But
pistol fights or anything like that, like they used to have in the village. And
no, no, it was quite minimalistic actually. But I mean, I appreciate it. Like you hear the stories from before and you think, oh, that would have been fun. But yeah, it makes sense not to like go overboard on all these things. And if we want the Olympics to continue in the future, they probably need to make it a little bit more, sustainable, both financially and, in terms of waste and all of that. So yeah, that was good. But yeah, in the dining hall, they tried to make all different cuisines, but it all ended up just being variations of French. Yeah, and I found that like going to the actual French cuisine was like the better food. So
oh, right.
um yeah, they did have these muffins. I don't know if you followed on social media. There was this guy that just went crazy for the chocolate muffins in the village, and it sort of became a bit viral. And those muffins were very good. So I definitely had one of those after my races.
I can imagine, and it must have been pretty amazing too, being there and actually having an atmosphere and a crowd. Because speaking to other athletes in the past that were involved in Tokyo, and they said it was so difficult having no crowds there.
Yeah, in fact, in Tokyo, the cycling didn't even stay in the village. We were in like a hotel near Mount Fuji, just with other cycling athletes. So it felt a little bit just like another race. But yeah, it was really cool to come to Paris and be in the village and have the energy and like so many people around to a point. Like I think there's aspects of it that aren't like the best preparation for performance, being in that environment with so much going on and sleeping in, sharing a small room with a cardboard bed and no air conditioning. And yeah, so it was like not, it's not like the height, especially when, in cycling, we're used to really like professional setup. We always stay in hotels and, we're well looked after with the food and whatnot. But yeah, in the village it was like quite basic. But the Australian team did a really good job. They had like a sort of separate kitchen where they were cooking like poke bowls and like they had like smoothies and like breakfast, like all Australian stuff. Anything that an Australian would normally want for breakfast, they had it. And they had a barista there in our little like Australian HQ, just dishing out like Australian quality coffees. So
Awesome.
everyone was kept very happy.
That's definitely a good thing. So I remember going to Paris and their coffee wasn't that great. So
No, that's not really up to Australian standards. But yeah, we imported our own Australian barista to keep us all happy.
And the lead up to Paris as well, speaking to Rachel Lynch, who's been a past guest of mine, a hockey star for Australia and a friend of yours too, and she was saying it's a pretty big lead up going into Paris. Tell us more about that, Grace.
Yeah, for me going to Paris, it's a bit different in the cycling world because we still have like our usual racing calendar, and then the Olympics sort of has to slot into that. And to prepare, if the Olympics is like a real target for a cyclist, then to prepare for it specifically is in a way difficult because you have to negotiate with your trade team to sort of structure your racing calendar in a way that you can do the training and preparation in the right sort of periodization for the event. And yeah, I was able, my team were really generous for that. And I was able to go and train at altitude for 3 weeks. And then I actually did a 9-day tour, the Giro d'Italia, just like 2 weeks before the Olympics, as like a real big load. Like I find that I perform well after like a really hard week like that. So yeah, I did that. That was like my last race, and then all I had to do was recover and sort of fine tune a little bit. And yeah, and then we were off.
That's amazing. That's a pretty big lead up.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's different for each individual, like what works. But yeah, from past experience, that's like how I found my best shape. So yeah, I was happy for that to work out. The risky thing is like doing a race like that is the risk of crashing and injuring yourself before a big event like the Olympics. So that was a little bit in the back of my mind, but yeah, I was really happy that I was able to get through unscathed.
And tell us about the cycling journey, where it all began for you, and was there someone in the family that got you into cycling? And you mentioned before you used to watch the Olympics and had idols growing up. Tell us about who some of those were as well.
Yeah, so actually when I was a kid, I didn't ride a bike much. I sort of got involved in running through primary school, did cross country and went up and raced at the national championships a few times with Team Vic. And yeah, continued that through high school, started doing a little bit of track and field as well. And yeah, so running was really like my sport, I guess, through most of my younger years, even up into uni. And I guess I had this dream of seeing if I could make it to the highest level and compete at the Olympics. And yeah, in my early 20s, we really started to think, okay, well, I need to, train a little bit more seriously, increase my mileage. But then I just started getting riddled with injuries. My body just didn't want to do more than it was already doing. So I had quite a few stress fractures in my tibias, and then the final one was in the head of my femur. And the process coming back from that is a real pain. Like you go in the pool, water running, like it was just does your head in really. So I decided that I didn't want to go through that again, just to get injured again and again. So my father had been sort of telling me, well, maybe you should try cycling instead. Like he'd sort of been telling me this for quite a few years, and I was saying, I don't want to do cycling. Like I don't like cycling. But yeah, eventually I was like, okay, right, I'll give it a go. And I sort of just went all in. It's my nature. I'm like, if I have an idea, I'm going 100%. So I bought a bike, bought all the gear, and yeah, started riding with some bunches in Melbourne. Then got into the criterion scene, like the just short circuit racing. Really got hooked to that. And then sort of stepped up into road racing, entered the national championships, and that was like a real eye-opening moment to see where the top women in Australia were, and that just gave me the hunger. Like, okay, I'm going to come back next year. I'm going to, train properly for this event, and yeah, see if I can get up to that same level. And yeah, it just sort of snowballed from there until I started racing in Europe and just kept improving at a quite rapid rate. So yeah, my trajectory in cycling was quite quick.
That's an amazing
And
story.
yeah, so I got on the bike at 23 and I'm now 32. So just like
Wow,
9 years. Yeah.
that's remarkable. And what sort of running were you? Were you more of a sprinter or a long distance?
Middle distance. So yeah, 1500 and 5K were sort of my head events.
Wow. And so you got close to representing Australia?
Oh, I was a bit off, like, but I was on the cusp of, if I really like, started training in a more focused way, then I would have got my times down a fair bit. But yeah, not like I wasn't on the selection long list or anything for those international events. But yeah, it was more a factor of that if I worked hard, it was a possibility that I could maybe one day make it. I wasn't super talented as a runner, just like mildly talented.
That's an incredible story to, like I said before, to get into cycling so late and then become a gold medalist in your 30s. That's just a incredible achievement. No, well done, Grace. And along the way, were there mentors that gave you that guidance? And you mentioned before your dad encouraged you to get into cycling. Was he a champion cyclist growing up, or anyone in the family or anything that got you like into that?
My dad's alright. Well, not always, but like a lot of, I guess, his, in his 30s and onwards was on the bike, just like as a recreational cyclist. He always went riding when I was a kid, and yeah, didn't race so much. He didn't like racing, but he liked riding with his mates and just for exercise. He's a bit of a fitness nut. So yeah, but then I guess one of my real mentors was my coach early on, Felicity Wardlaw. She just guided me a lot and gave me a lot of advice and friendship in my early years. And that was really nice. But it's such a good community, the cycling community, and the whole way along my career I found people that were really generous with their time and their expertise to help build me into the cyclist I am today. There's been so many people that have given more than they needed to, and saw the little like sliver of what could be, and were willing to commit to try and help me get where I could.
And what about going back to the younger years? I remember as a kid, Grace, I was on a bike. I think I was learning to ride a bike at one stage, and I went too fast. I ended up almost knocking myself out. I went over, like it was riding on a footpath, lost control, and then went into a rose bush and hit a wall as well at the same time. Was there anything similar to that you did as a kid? Any big stacks? And
I remember, one time riding to school. It was like downhill to school, and my parents just let me go off with my older brother, and he didn't really care to look after me so much. So we were going down the hill, and I got a bit scared about the speed. And then, I don't know, just irrationally, I went I didn't think to use my brakes. I just went off the road and then found some bushes to stop in rather than braking. So that was a bit traumatic. And I also remember this same brother going to the school in our primary school. We had this sort of grass thing in the middle of the outside area called Gilligan's Island, and he wanted us to do a race, so we'd each go around on our own and time it to see who could go fastest. And I think I didn't go that fast, and I stopped, and then he went full gas, and he got to the finish line, and he just jammed on his front just his front brake and like fully flipped and had the bike just like he was lying on the ground with the bike on top of him, and I had to like help him sort of retrieve the bike off the top of him. And I just like, some reason that always stuck in my mind, like if you brake too hard, you're going to flip yourself over.
Oh, it's a good lesson for sure. Hey, and I want to ask you, you've made a big call recently, deciding to retire, which is, you're only in your early 30s, like you mentioned, so it's pretty young and I guess you've gone out on a pretty big high. Was that the reason, winning gold, you thought, you've done what you wanted to?
No, I made the decision quite early in the year, actually, that this year was going to be my last year racing professionally. So, yeah, I didn't, I obviously had goals at the Olympics and, also the World Championships later in the year. And, I had those goals but my decision was like already made that it was going to be my last year. And mainly the decision was because, I spent 8 months of the year racing overseas in Europe. And my husband, unfortunately, has his own business and needs to stay in Australia. He can come over for some trips, but generally, like, we're apart for most of the year. And after 6.5 years of doing that, I'm ready to live a bit more of a proper married life and be together. But it's hard. Like, it's on one level awesome to go out on top, but it's also difficult to leave the sport when you're at like such a good level. But in a way I also feel like really content with it, because this year I really said to myself, okay, I'm going all in. I'm going to leave no stone unturned, and we'll see, what that brings. And it brought me like incredible results. And now, I've got nothing that I'm questioning of like, well, what if? So I got the answers this year, and that's really cool.
My producer Roy just asked if you could show us the gold medal, or you got it hidden away somewhere.
Yeah, no, I've got it here beside me. I got it ready for you guys.
Oh, amazing. Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Incredible. How good.
This bit in the middle of the hexagon is a part of the Eiffel Tower.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so this is the back. So they have the same design. I think can't remember when they started having this on the back each time of each Olympics, but this is like the original Parthenon, but they've got the addition of the Eiffel Tower in the back there.
How good. They get better and better. They seem to get better and better every time, don't they?
Yeah. On the edge, it's got like just in the inscription of my event. You probably can't read that very clearly.
That's amazing.
But it's really heavy. That's like the most remarkable thing about it. Anytime someone comes to, wants to see it, they hold it, and it's like, whoa, that's heavy. But yeah.
No, well done. Cool. Congratulations. That's so cool. And thanks for showing that. Yeah, just before we finish up, Grace, so you mentioned before you want to spend more time with your husband. You're still going to stay involved in cycling as well as like a mentor to others. And, what are you going to do full time, you think?
Yeah, I'm wanting to stay involved in cycling as much as I can. I've actually taken on a role as president of the Cyclist Alliance, which is like the union for female professional cyclists. So I'm really excited about having a positive impact in that role. There's people coming to me every day with some ideas or things that I can do. So,
well, Grace Brown, thank you so much again for giving up the time to chat today on Sports Legends with Bevo. Congratulations on your career, and obviously winning that gold medal in Paris, an amazing achievement. And I'm sure you're going to do very amazing things with mentoring younger ones and as a commentator going forward as well.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show, Bevo. It's been great to chat.
Absolute pleasure.